Hello, everybody. This is Electro Ferret. Yes, what's going on, guys? So it's been a while since I've been posting here on this channel. I don't think you guys see my face yet. This is me. I did have another YouTube channel called Wilson's Gaming, so I've been primarily been on there, and I have since stopped posting on there and just focusing on my other channels, focusing on one topic. And we're going to talk about ferrets. And we did have a question from one of the subscribers. Crystal Castillo has asked, "You got any tips on keeping ferrets? Because I want one, but don't know much about them." Thank you, Crystal, so much for commenting on the recent video. And, well, let me answer some questions. Let me start a history lesson about my first ferret. My very first ferret died about a couple of years ago, and that was due in part because I didn't take care of that ferret too well as I probably should have. So, from learning from that lesson, I will teach you guys what I know now that works well to keep healthy ferrets. And first of all, if you see right behind me, I have a cage and I have a room to keep my ferrets in. So that is one of the very first things you need to think about is where are you going to keep your ferrets? Are your ferrets allowed in your place? And is your area small? Are there a lot of kids? Are there a lot of animals? Are there any rough animals in your household, like dogs or cats that are temperamental? Things like that. Do you have little kids that like to pick and prod, and they might do something to your animals? You got to think about that, sensibly, of course. Uh, and I recommend this cage. I don't know if you can see it. Let me bring my webcam around. Okay, this is the Ferret Nation cage, and I think that was $200 when I got that on Amazon. It's a really heavy package. It takes about an hour, hour and a half of assembly time. It's very heavy. It's on wheels. Excuse me. So you have to think about that too. And just looking at it, this again, it doesn't look too big here on the camera, but it is big. It's a big and heavy cage. So once you found a spot to have your ferret in a cage, you're probably going to need some cage accessories. And this is all before getting your ferret. You want to build a cage uh, and you have ample enough room to keep your ferrets in. I suggest putting your ferrets in a room where they could free roam, and we'll get to that in another later down the road in this video. So anyways, what I'm trying to say is after you got your cage, you built your cage, now you need accessories. Now, you don't want to get tons of toys to put into their cage. They're meant to be out. They're meant to be out playing. And on average, at least you want your ferrets out for 4 hours a day. A day, okay? At least. Now, if they go to sleep on their own, then okay, they go to sleep. You can always let your ferrets out 2 days, not 2 days, 2 hours in the morning or 2 hours at night. You can split it up, but just split their times up evenly to at least give them 4 hours if you have a busy schedule. But they need a lot of time to play. They have to be active. They have to play. Okay, so but some accessories you're going to need for your cage are, and thankfully, this cage here, the Ferret Nation, has accessory packs. They go for like $40. Okay, and they're like fleece covers that line the trays, and even the ramps here, and even the ramps. So you get things like that. Now you got to think about the food. I highly suggest if you're getting your ferret from like PetSmart, ask around. Different countries have different ferret breeders, but it's very common in America to have Marshall bred ferrets, so they will be fed on and raised on Marshall's type food, and you want to get them off of that quickly, and I mean quickly. And definitely suggest having the Marshall's food on hand, the kind that you can soak in water and mash up for your little babies if you're going to get baby ferrets, and transition them over to Y-Song Epigen digestive support. Now this works for me and it works for my ferrets too. They're full of energy all the time, and they love it. Some people say that you want to combine the food and with other types of food so they don't get used to just one type of food. Okay, so I'm getting a little too ahead of myself. We were talking about setting up the room first. When you're going to set up your ferret room, you want to make sure there is nothing that they could get themselves entangled in. You got to make sure there are places in your room that they can't escape out of from. Like if you have a dryer vent, maybe you have a place for your ferrets near your washer dryer, and there's like a vent for them to escape out of. You just want to make sure nothing can get out. And like say if you let me show you something. This is kind of hard to explain without showing. And it's hard to show you, but past my computer there, I do have a gate in the doorway. And that gate is for the ferrets so that they cannot escape out of. It's crazy. All right. Yeah, so make sure your ferrets can't escape. Any computer wires, entertainment center wires are not exposed. They're up from the ground. If you have a computer desk, make sure your computer is off the floor. Everything that you don't want your ferrets to touch. To summarize this up, keep it up or stored in a bin or something out of. Most preferably, you want a room that's empty, pretty much, for the most part. But in this case, I have my room pretty much ferret proof, and it's best that I can do for right now. Okay, a little nervous doing this video, by the way. I don't know why. So slow down just a tad. All right. So you want to get a ferret, right? What do you do? Well, you go to your local pet stop. Maybe you want to adopt a ferret from a breeder or a rescue. You can do that too. Ferrets that have been sick and then came back to health or nurtured back to health. You can do that as well. Craigslist. I wouldn't get from Craigslist. I mean, I don't have experience from that, but animals bond with people. I think a lot of animals, all types of animals, bond with people, and they come into your care, and it's going to be different experience. You want to have an animal that's going to bond with you all the way since they were a little baby, and it's sad to see people get rid of their animals, but give your best experience, in my opinion. Go to a store like PetSmart or from a breeder and get a baby, or a kit that's been that had its shots and that has been spayed or neutered. Make sure they're fixed. Okay. So once that's set, you get your paperwork. Ferrets can range from $150 to $200, maybe even $300. And get some toys for the ferrets. Something where it doesn't have little beads or anything. Just anything you want to give to a baby, don't give to your ferret. Pretty much, ferrets are very mischievous. And yeah, you buy your ferrets, and they're gonna want to escape out of the little box that they come in, and you just want to rush home right away. Now, another thing to think about when you get ferrets is you don't want your room to be too hot at all. So if you have some air conditioning or you live in a hot environment and you have air conditioning, or let's say you just don't get any air in your room and it just gets hot, make sure the temperature in your room just does not exceed 75 degrees, because I hear that 80 to 90 degrees can be very fatal for a ferret, especially being outside. Um, and I highly recommend not letting your ferrets outside. Um, maybe on a deck is good. This is just my personal experience, but don't let them roam outside on the grass, because they can get fleas and ticks, and that just causes more problems. There's plenty of ferret owners who do that. But me personally, I don't do that. I have a deck on the second floor, so I let them roam around on the deck, and fortunately it's closed off, so they can't escape that, which is cool. Not everybody's blessed like that. You can. Hey, we have somebody here named Wabaka Gainman Zero. Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Munson. Welcome to the chat. I'm just explaining and kind of replying to a subscriber named Crystal Castillo, who had asked, you got any tips on keeping ferrets, because I want one, but don't know much about them. And I'm basically giving a history lesson on how I got these ferrets and what to expect, and so now we're going to be talking about, okay, you brought your ferrets home, you set up your cage. So the first thing you want to do is also think about having litter boxes, and you're going to litter train them. And I can talk about that in another video, what type of litter boxes are good, but you can find them by just typing out ferret litter boxes. They have little corner ones that, looks like a corner. There's ones that are about a little bit smaller than a cat box. And I highly recommend Yesterday's News as a litter, the unscented kind. And it soaks up ferret piss, it soaks up a lot of the odor, and it just leaves their little poops on top of the litter, which is kind of cool. Well, anyways, if the now why use Yesterday's News? Because if the ferret accidentally digests that litter, it will easily pass through their digestive system, vice versa. Huge clumping litter that you might see at Walmart. And the ferrets that I had before these ferrets always had that litter impacted within their gut, because just the way that litter expands, it has no way to get out of their digestive system. And that was really sad to see my ferret go like that, do on my part. So I'm just teaching you guys my mistakes. I hate to have animals die in my care. So Yesterday's News is really good. A lot of ferret owners use that. Unscented. All right, so moving on. Yes, the first thing you want to do is litter train, and it's going to be progressive. Once you get your ferrets, it's going to be like maybe 3 to 4 weeks. It took about 3 to 4 weeks for my ferrets. And you always just want to pick up the poop that each ferret let out and place it in the litter box. Okay? And once you see your ferret waking up, yawning in their cage or outside of the cage, and you see them ready to go back up in the corner, it's really easy. You see them back up in the corner and they lift their tail up. Immediately put them in the box. Okay? Put them in the box and let them get used to knowing that that's where they're going to poop. And they're going to smell that. Okay? They're going to smell that. And the more you do that, the more they're going to get accustomed to going. And you're going to notice right away they're going to do that inside their cage, and life is good. Now, they might, down the road when they get bigger, get lazy and not want to back up into their litter box, because the way a ferret goes to the bathroom, they slide. They go and then they slide. They don't lift up themselves to go into the box and then go. They like to slide. And they also like to sniff. They'll sniff, turn around, and then slide back in. So some ferrets are good about smelling and then jumping over the lid. In that case, get some paper towels to put in front of their litter box so you know they're going to poop in there. And you can also spray some water vinegar solution in front of their litter boxes or in areas where you know ferrets are going to go bathroom. That will deter them a little bit from wanting to go to the bathroom in certain areas of your room. And I've tested it and tried it, and it works great. Okay, because I have one ferret that will just always wants to poop in front of the litter box because she's lazy to get her butt up into the box. Okay, so litter training. You're going to also transition from the food that they were raised on to the new food. Maybe you want to feed them raw food. Unfortunately, I don't have any experience with the raw food, so I can only give you my experience with the dry kibble. And I suggested the Wise Song Epigen Digestive Support, and that is packed with protein. The ferrets need protein. If ferrets were the size of a bear, they would decimate everything on this earth. That's what I've heard, because their need for protein is really large, and they will just keep eating and eating and eating and consuming, and it's bad. It's crazy. Um, all right. So, how do you transition? You first start off with a huge amount of the original food that they had, mix it in water when they're babies, and get it to a like an oatmeal um, cream of wheat consistency. And you also want to have some of the new food that you want to transition them to the same way. You want to kind of get that mashed up and mixed together. Now, the Ysong Epigen 90 digestive support food has a hard time mashing up. So what I do with that is I microwave that in water and I let it sit for a little while. Then I mash it up, or you can use a blender, and I let it cool down. And whatever I have left over for mash or for wet food, I store in the refrigerator. And then when I'm ready to use it again, I'll warm it up for maybe like 10 minutes where it's room temperature, and I'll let the ferrets eat. So you only feed them as much as possible. You always want to have food and water available for them. And now we're going to talk about the water. And I'm sorry if this video is coming off rambly, but it's you guys want to know how to take care of ferrets, my point of view of it and how it works for my ferrets and for me after learning many lessons with my first ferret. So this is what I'm providing for you guys. For water, you want to have, you can get one of those water bottles that attach to the cages, okay? And that will work out. Always have fresh water, and also have a weighted water bowl. A dog bowl works pretty good, and it's weighted, so once the water is in that bowl, ferrets will have a hard time moving that bowl around, because if you have a plastic bowl, forget it. They're going to tip it over. If you have one of those food bowls and plastic water bowls that attach to the cage, forget it. It's not going to work. Trust me. Especially if you get a ferret that's temperamental. Okay, we're on that topic, and I'm going to back it up again real quickly. When you go into the store to choose your ferret, get the ferrets that are healthy. If they have watery noses, their eyes are all watery, they look sick, don't. I know you're going to feel sad for them, but don't, because they're not going to be good for you. And get ferrets, just watch them for a little bit. Find the ones that have the most energy. Find the ones, if you plan to get 2 or more ferrets, find the ferrets that are interacting with each other the most. They are most likely bonded with each other. So that's what I did with those ferrets. And now we're going to continue on what I was going to be talking about. All right. So can you let them loose when you first get them? Sure you can. You can let them loose. Again, just tests out your room. Are they gonna find places that you never thought of? Are they able to pull things out of dressers, or are they able to climb certain areas of your room? This is a perfect time to test out your defenses in your room. Um, Supervise them. Definitely supervise them. Um, And once you trust your ferrets, then you don't have to supervise them all the time. But I'm always in this room when my ferrets are out. Now, there's other factors about owning a ferret. When's the best time to let them out? Best time to let them out, I would say, from my experience, is ferrets are most active when you are the most active. And there's like a lot of noise in your room, they're gonna be up. And if they're used to waking up in the morning or when the sun comes up, boom, that's when they're going to get up. And they're you let them out, they probably want to play a lot and jump around, and then they'll fall asleep somewhere. You know, some ferrets are really good about returning back into their cage. So what I do is once the ferrets get a little older, I put the food in their cage and leave the cage door open. And my ferrets go to and from. They know where their food is. They know where the litter boxes are in the room. And you'd be surprised how smart they are. They're almost about as smart as a dog. I kid you not. Wow, there's so many things to talk about with ferrets. Definitely hold them, keep them close, play with them, and they don't need expensive toys. You can give them a few toys, yeah, that you might find on Amazon or your local pet shop, but you're gonna find that it's gonna be really expensive, like ridiculously expensive, because the people who make these toys, they know that ferrets don't need all this special name brand stuff or hideaways and all that junk. You can just give them cardboard box and tissue paper. They'll go nuts. Okay, they love sounds, so anything that crinkles and crunkles and anything that moves around, they go crazy over. Always play with your ferrets. um, just treat them really good. That's the best thing I can say. Think about it as they're little tiny dogs, and they need to play. They need to play. And you know don't neglect one ferret over the other. If you have 2 or more, play with each one fairly. Now we're going to come to the ferret sleep cycle. Ferrets sleep a long time, and it's very important that the area that they're sleeping in is warm enough during very cold seasons and cool enough for very hot seasons. And like I said, make sure your room is ventilated. Make sure your temperature in your room doesn't go above 80 degrees or 90 degrees. I would say 80 degrees. Don't make it go higher than that. Um, Maybe make your room a little bit less hot than that. Tell you the truth, maybe 75. Because the ferret that I had, I believe she died or he died of a heat stroke of some sort, because it was really warm in my room, like really hot, and I didn't have air conditioning in my room. And it was a mistake on my part, and I think my ferret started to suffer from that a little bit. So it's sad, it's a sad thing. um, but so that's why I have an air conditioning in my room all seasons. This is my air conditioner. This is the window portable air conditioner. So what else? Okay, the sleep cycle. So make sure that it's dark. If you have to, cover their cage. Because they have to have pure darkness when they're sleeping. Because from what I hear, if they don't get that, they can develop a lot of cancers, pancreatic cancers, more often than not, if they don't get the proper sleep. So let them sleep, let them rest, cover their cage. That's why my ferrets like to sleep right underneath my futon because it's pure black down there. It's pure, you know, darkness down there. Um, then at nighttime, I put a blanket over the top level of this cage. So any light that is in my room or outside of the room, it doesn't go inside the cage. So let them sleep, and they're going to wake up whenever they wake up. That's just them. But all right, so what are some things to look for when you have a ferret? When they shed, when it becomes shedding season, you got to do all you can to help them. You got to get a comb and make sure you comb them every so often. And you can buy some ferret laxative and give that to them, maybe like once a day during their shedding cycle, maybe every other day. Most of the time, these laxatives are loaded with sugar, so you don't want to give them a lot of sugar, and you don't want to give them a lot of treats either. Especially Marshall's treats. On a rare occasions, good, like once a month or so, but don't give that to them all the time. They'll stick. They're happy with their food, and it's working well with these ferrets. I did train my ferrets to use their cage as well by using the ferret laxative every so often because it has a really nice sweet smell. So that worked. But I didn't use it all the time, and I did use treats. And that's a good way to train them to do things like stand up or come into your lap, especially at the early stages of their life cycle. Give them a treat here and there, and they'll remember that. And hell, you can even give them pieces of their food as a treat. They'll eat it. So, what else can I think about to tell you guys? Let's see. Mischievous ferrets are they're very mischievous. They're everywhere, guys. If they can climb it, if they can burrow into it, if they can tunnel through, if they can bite it, they can chew it, they will. So you'll see. Every ferret's different, but you'll see. You'll see. You just want to make sure everything is locked down. And it can be aggravating. And it was very aggravating. And my room right now is tailored just for them. The way I want my room, unfortunately, it's not the way I want it, but it is set for them. Now, ferrets and other animals, I don't have any dogs, but I have 4 cats here. My cats are terrified of them. They just run away. I do have one cat that does like to lay around a lot. And when a ferret gets close, she gets a little agitated. And so you have to watch out, how the animals are interacting. But for the most part, ferrets will chase down cats and cats will run away. So, um, what else? Now, babies and ferrets. Now, here's the thing to look for. Ferrets can nip, especially when they're young, and you have to nip that in the bud when you first get them. If they do have the tendency to nip at you. And one of my ferrets, if you've seen here on this channel, she nipped all the time, no matter, and it took a while. It took a while. It took me 2 or 3 months for her to just stop nipping and stop biting me. So what did I do to stop that? What worked the best? Anybody? You have to lay the law down. You don't be mean to them, but you have to be firm. You hold them by the scruff, and I would say for the first couple of weeks or first week, lift up in the air safely and have them look at you. So turn them around, have them look at you, and say no. And you have to be gentle. Put them down. If they start biting you some more, you keep repeating that. If they keep doing it after you said that, you put them in the cage. And put them in the cage for a timeout for about 5-10 minutes. And then let them out, let them have some food. And if they keep biting you, then another method is to get them by the scruff and bring their back up like this, lay them down on their back, and on a soft surface like a bed, just drag them across the bed. So that what you're doing essentially is you're acting like a mother, teaching them bad behavior, and that's what mothers do to young ferrets. They'll take them by the scruff and drag them, and by doing that, your ferrets will start to learn that's not tolerable behavior, and it could take a week or more after that. So just be gentle when you're being firm with them. You know, lift them up in the air for first couple of weeks. And then after that, you start dragging them across a soft surface to teach them, do not bite. No more biting. um, so let's say, here's some factors. Okay, here's another factor when owning a ferret. You will definitely come to a point in your ferret owning career um, that you might not have time to play with your ferrets, okay? And you know, what do? You gotta let them out at least 4 hours a day. Well, I suggest getting a playpen for them. This playpen is really good. This was actually meant for dogs, and it collapses, it folds. I forgot the name of it, but it didn't cost much. It has a zipper and everything. But you put a couple toys in there, balls, excuse me, and a litter box, their food, and you can get really inventive with having their food in certain places where it won't slosh everywhere. But you keep them in this playpen over here. Let me show you. I'm gonna bring my camera over if I can. See, I got a box. I got one of these things here that have balls. You know, it's nothing really too fancy right now, but you can keep your ferrets in there while you sleep, so they'll have some extra room to play around in. And this is really good. I like this playpen. They don't get out when everything is all zippered. Now, I'm going to get really in depth with you. Let's say you're putting your ferrets in there, okay? And they like to slosh their water around. You can put the food and water dish inside a very large Tupperware container. And it, you know, with the combination of the weight from the food and the water, that Tupperware container is not really going to move around that much. But if ferrets do want to dig at their food and water, and, if you don't want to make a mess in their in their holding container, you put it in that Tupperware container, so that way it guards against messes. That's what I'm trying to say, really. What else? What else can we talk about here about ferrets? You're probably gonna need to start investing in nail trimming. In a nail trimmer, because your ferret's nails are gonna grow, and they're gonna get sharp, and they're gonna feel like thorns, and it really hurts. Okay, so get a ferret nail trimmer, and the best way to do that is, oh man, it's really hard to show you. Okay, this is a ferret nail, right? So you want to cut at that angle, and you do not want to cut the fleshy part inside the nail. Now, ferrets are going to move around. They're going to squirm, okay? And I wish I can present this here somehow, but the only way you're going to have them get their nails trimmed is either have somebody hold your ferret for you, or somebody will trim your ferret's nails for you as you hold the ferrets down, gently, of course. Or if you're doing it by yourself, okay, here's a trick, guys, and it works really good. Remember that ferret laxative thing I talked about? You put that gel from the ferret laxative on their tummy, or maybe around your hands somewhere. Your ferrets are gonna go crazy. They're gonna be in love with that gel, and they won't think about anything else for the most part. My ferrets don't anyway. They go crazy over that. They get calm right away, and it's really easy to snip their nails. Every ferret's different, but it does help. Uh, what else can we talk about here about ferrets? I hope this has been helpful, guys. Make sure you throw a like and subscribe. Um, we already talked about treats and shots. Okay, so most ferrets will get shots and neutered. Make sure they're fixed, and they have shots when you first get them. Now, people are going to hate me when I say this, but I have not given my ferret shots after that, and I want to keep everything natural because I don't let my ferrets outside except for the deck. So, but there's a chances that they can get the dog flu. There's some kind of virus with dogs. So if there's an affected animal or a dog and it's airborne, they can get sick and die really quick. It's some kind of dog virus, and it's instantly fatal to ferrets, from what I understand. But I have not given my ferret shots because my ferrets are indoors. Rabies shots, but like I said, I keep my ferrets here. So, I mean, are you bringing your ferrets everywhere? You know, you may want to give them shots. Um, so, ferrets are prone to a cancer, an adrenal cancer, and I think, don't get me wrong, because I think my last ferret had that too. But I believe is when you feel a lump on the left side of the ferret's underbelly, most likely there's a problem. They get sick, lethargic, and it sucks. So there are methods. They can get surgery. They can get an implant chip, and I think it releases a hormone so they don't get adrenal disease. So like I said, I'm not too knowledgeable about that, and believe it or not, I actually do want to take my ferrets to the vet for that purpose because they're about 3 years old right now. So I want my ferrets to live around as much as possible. And ferrets can live between 6 to 8 years or even more. They don't live around that long. But if you take good care of them, they should be all right for that amount of time. So what else? Okay, so a couple more facts. Ferrets like to poop a lot, and I mean a lot, and a lot. And they're going to make your room stink. And the best way to combat that is always, every day, maybe even twice a day, get the clumps of crap out of their litter and put some fresh litter in. You don't always have to take all the litter out, just enough where you see clumped. And once you start smelling, it's really easy to notice that, once that yesterday's news starts to not smell so good, change all that litter out. So every day, just get all the clumps where you see waste and it's really noticeable uh, for that. So, and how do you do that? Well, I use uh, you can use gloves if you wanted to, but I use plastic bags from Walmart from shopping, and I use one bag to put the waste in, and the other bag as a glove almost, and I just and then I put the bag inside the bag, and I just wash my hands, and it works for me. It's not the totally sanitary thing to do for my own self, but it works. Okay, um, just as long as you wash your hands. Okay, and ferret baths. Ferret bath. Oh my word! 40 minutes on the stream already? Damn! We're really talking about ferrets and up in this bed. Okay, so ferrets. Um, Believe it or not, they don't need baths all the time. I've only given my ferrets baths twice in 1 year, 2 times in a year after they're shedding, and that's it. So that's a rule of thumb. After they're done shedding, give them a bath. Give them a bath in oatmeal. What do I mean by oatmeal? Well, you get some oatmeal, dry oatmeal, unflavored, okay? Just the most natural oatmeal that you can find. Put it in a sock that you don't want to have anymore, okay? And let it soak in the water, and it's gonna feel so good in your hands. It feels a little slimy in a way, but this is all the moisture coming out of the oatmeal in the bath water. And your ferrets. Oh, and when your ferrets are babies, give them a bath right away. Right away. That's the first thing I forgot to mention. Is give your ferrets a bath right away. And make sure the water is not hot, maybe just enough where it's to you where it's cold, but you can feel the heat, like a lukewarm but a little bit less than lukewarm. And don't put too much water in your bath or your sink or whatever, just enough where you can actually slosh a little bit of water on them. They can get some water on them, and all their fur soaks up. And you take the sock and you can scrunch it up like this, and you'll get a lot of moisture coming out of the oatmeal, and it is a nice moisturizer for the ferrets, and they're gonna love it. And they're gonna smell so good. Trust me, they're gonna smell really good from the oatmeal. It's like an earthy oat smell. It's delicious. It's a delicious smell, I'll tell you the truth. And their fur is gonna be nice and shiny, and they're gonna love it. Now, why can't you give them baths all the time? Their skin dries out really fast. So you do not want their skin to dry out. They need that moisture that comes out naturally out of the body. Because if you bathe them all the time, their fur is going to get really shit. It's going to look like shit. And their skin's going to look like shit, and they're going to be dry. And another maintenance thing you need for your ferrets is, like I said, you got to brush them. Maybe twice a week or so, and every day during the shedding season. I recommend cleaning out your cage once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks the most. And you can spray a deodorizer in your cage if you feel like it smells in your room or whatever. But it shouldn't be that bad. If you keep up with the litter and you keep the litter in their litter box, and life will be good. So I think we're near the end of this video, guys. And I think my ferrets were trying to wake up. I don't know. But 44 minutes of me rambling on about ferrets is long enough. And I'd like to know what you all think in the bottom. Hopefully this has been helpful. If you got any more questions, let me know. Plenty of YouTubers out there that talk about ferrets. And hopefully you like me as a YouTuber explaining about my little fur babies. All right, everybody. This is Electro Ferret signing out.